you truly care about the rights of other women, and you're like, you know what, we stand against their rights, they have the right to work, etc., no problem. If you have a good husband, why don't you share it?
Can I answer that?
Yes, I'm going to ask, do you truly care about your co-sisters?
No, I care about me. There's enough people in the world for people to get married and not have to share a husband.
No, there isn't. Certain things has to be done for the greater rights of the community.
Do you know the Muta man, the Muta man, the Muta man? Do you know the Muta man who lives on Dawah Lane? Do you know the Muta man, the Muta man, the Muta man? Do you know the Muta man who lives on Dawah Lane?
Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. If your second wife starts acting up, threaten her next of kin.
You're out of a job, boy. You're finished. You're finished. Allah, you're finished. You're finished. You're finished. Allah, you're finished.
Us Dawah guys are just perverted individuals.
Allah, you're finished.
Aha! Aha!
All right. We are live. Welcome back to Reason Answers, your home for all the
Crackhead clown individuals.
new introduction there. Second time I've played that. Have you heard this song yet, David, or is this your first time hearing it?
Nope, I checked it out. I was wondering though, is that that's me going hotel, motel. I'm guessing that was really me and not AI generated. I'm saying because
You don't remember?
I forget like 99.9% of the stuff I say, and then I start hearing hotel, motel, and then I'm thinking, ooh, what would be a good rhyme with this? But then I give the rhyme. If your girl starts acting up, go for her next of kin or whatever I said. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm nearly certain that is real. I didn't produce the song. An individual named Sal produced it, and I put the full link or the link to the full video in the chat there if you want to check out the full thing.
Yeah, Sal's awesome.
Absolutely. He has tons and tons of Dawah related songs that he's made.
And me and AP didn't realize. I mean, I didn't realize until he started making songs like how much song-worthy stuff we say, because we'll just randomly break into little fake choruses and stuff like that, goofing off, and he'll snatch them all up and make a whole song out of them.
Indeed. So today we're going to be talking about the Hotel Hijab scandal, sort of. We're going to be taking a look at the story of King David in the Bible and the incident with Bathsheba, and talking about how this relates. What would be different if Mohammed Hijab was following Christianity instead of his brand of Islam?
Or if he wasn't a complete narcissist.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, there's all this stuff that he uses within Islam to help him justify what he does. But even if he didn't have any of that in Islam, he's still a narcissist, and so he'd still react differently from King David.
Absolutely. So we'll dive right into that, not waste anyone's time, except I just remembered that I plan to share the promo video.
Yeah,
for
you're about to skip it.
I was about to skip it. I almost forgot. Shame on me there. All right. Let me add that to the scene.
Would like to go to the greatest apologetics conference this country has ever seen?
Have you ever thought about how to share the gospel with culture?
Have you ever wanted to see Islam and Christianity battle intellectually in groundbreaking debates?
Have you ever wondered why Islam is growing so much here in the USA?
Have you ever wondered how anyone lives their life not knowing that the perfect eternal word of God become a man, not just to speak the truth, but to die for them?
Have you ever wanted to know how to move conversations about identity over to the gospel?
How can a sinner be right before a holy God?
Have you ever wondered what God thinks about women?
Have you ever wanted to seek and share truth together better than ever before with like-minded and uniquely gifted brothers and sisters?
Did you realize that Muhammad is actually in the Bible? But it's not what you may think.
Have you heard of the infamous satanic verses? Would you like to hear more? A lot more?
Have you ever wondered why, according to the Quran, Allah is Satan and Jesus is God?
Would you like to understand ways in which you can better convey the sanctity of human life? Have you ever wondered about why so many people are being attracted to Hebrew Israelism?
Would you like to know why Dawah is crumbling?
Have you ever wanted to hear me sing? Probably not.
Have you ever wanted help do a ministry on YouTube more effectively?
Would you like to master the Islamic dilemma?
Have you ever wanted to see Daniel Hakikachu and David Wood face off as Daniel tries to debunk the Islamic dilemma?
Did you know that the Islamic model of God is not able to explain miracles, but the Trinity not only can, but is the only model of God that does it perfectly?
At this conference, you'll learn how to identify a cult, how to give proper biblical responses, and hopefully win them for Christ by preaching to them the true gospel of Jesus Christ according to biblical revelation. We will also be dealing with atheism and agnosticism and other philosophical worldviews that are in opposition to the biblical faith, which is Christianity.
Whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, or none of the above, if you'd like to learn more, we'd love to have you join us at this year's free Seek and Share Truth conference in Ohio and online. If you'd like to support our missions, attending our free conference, outreaches, and/or debates, praying for us, donating to help us cover our speakers' costs, and inviting others to come and do the same helps so much. If you'd like to learn more, check out our website and RSVP for free today. And if you have any questions, know I'm here to help. We hope to see you there. And either way, thank you so much for your consideration. And may God bless you with his guidance always.
So a different David here in the chat says, promo too long, give me the summary. The summary is free awesome conference. Come check it out. Starts a week from today in Youngstown, Ohio. There's also an online option. I put the link for conference tickets, which are completely free. I will be giving a talk on the value of women in Christianity, and Hatun will be giving a talk on the value of women in Islam. Complimentary talks there. Mine, at least, inspired by the whole hotel hijab situation. So I said, this is the topic that I want to talk about. David's got several, including a debate with Daniel Hikachu.
Two debates with Daniel.
Two debates. That is correct.
Hey, this David dude here has a good point. There should be like a 20-second version of the promo too. Should be a short one for people like David who have shorter attention spans. And like 20.
If you're watching.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And everyone. And everyone, Thaddeus mentioned tickets are free. We will just say again, they're able to bring in tons of speakers and have a huge multi-day conference and keep it free for people who are attending because they're crowdfunding. They're crowdfunding the costs of paying for the entire thing. So if you can, go to the page and contribute so that other people, well, whether you're going or not, if you can contribute, definitely contribute because cool stuff going on.
Absolutely. I put the link to the tickets as well as the fundraiser in the live chat, and I'll get those added to the video description once we're done here today. So I think that covers what I wanted to say about that. Definitely encourage people to check it out. Again, if you can make it to Ohio, do come live. Great opportunity to fellowship. If you can't, there's also an online option. And Daniel, I think, is going to be destroyed. The audience had a couple comments that I wanted to read as well. So Misha said, we need proof to see that you are human. It depends on the claim. So this is a reference to Hatun's stream the other day. I was in the chat just talking with someone who kept insisting that I need to provide evidence for Jesus. And I'm like, well, what counts as evidence? And they wouldn't give me anything. So then I started demanding that they prove that they are a human being.
Smart.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't have to prove that. I'm like, yeah, you do.
Smart. It works. I've done that hundreds of times. No one has ever succeeded in proving that they exist to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Alexander.
Misha, one second. Misha also had another comment. Said, is Mojab a psychopath too? Or did Islam manage to squash that out? No, Hijab is not a psychopath. He's a narcissist.
Completely different. Get it right.
Completely different. And for some reason, I don't know why, psychopaths cannot stand narcissists at all.
Excellent. Alexander Sethais is a cooler, longer-haired Mike Winger. But then David K said, why not bring on the cooler nerd, Mohammed Winger, and his gummy bears probably have better arguments here. That's very rude of you. Z-Raider, who also gave a super chat, wants to know the story of how you went to jail. Briefly.
Why did he go to jail? I attempted to murder my dad with a ball-peen hammer, but you can check that out on my channel. That would be the short version. I have a longer version titled something like How God Destroyed My Atheism or something.
Yes. One of the greatest videos ever made in the history of the world.
That's true.
No sarcasm there. That is the truth. Definitely check that out. In fact, someone recommended David to me years ago. And I had no idea who he was. I went to his YouTube channel. I was at the top, watched that, and I was instantly hooked on his content as a result. So definitely check out his testimony. Then the super chat from Z Raider.
We're asking you to give a loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and believe me, that will be paid back in ways you can never imagine.
Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan so he may multiply it for him many times over?
Allahu Akbar. I love that verse. Every time we donate to projects, we're giving a loan to our Creator, the most generous, who will return it to us in this life.
Brothers and sisters, can you afford to miss out on this opportunity?
And then it turns out the super chat was the same question. So they asked, and then they put in a super chat. So that's already answered. Thank you very much, Z Raider, for that donation. I'll probably let the little intro to the Dawah or prosperity hadith, as we like to call it, play for a little while, but I'll probably start cutting those off. Or you can do like songs of relief here and trigger the ape apologist instead.
I must go to that Seek and Share Truth conference, but I don't want to be recognized. Wallahi, I will wear my trusty mask and sneak in.
Perfect. Excellent super chat. Thank you very much for that donation.
And for anyone who's new here and doesn't know what that's a reference to, Mohammed Hijab was trying to cover all his tracks with his secret wife Aisha, so he would have her pay for the hotel, and then he would show up wearing a mask. That way no one could identify him. The man is a tactical genius.
Yeah, no way anyone would ever recognize.
No one will ever find out about it. He was so careful. No one will
I mean, we have no idea to this day what
because
he was doing there.
Because he was so careful and smart.
Gray says, nowadays, David Wood reserves the hammer for the Dawah guys, or gets. Absolutely. All right. So we got the story of King David in the Bible here, the story of Bathsheba. You may be familiar with this. Probably, if you're a Christian, you may probably be familiar with it, but we're going to take it in a couple sections here, a few verses at a time, starting with the introduction to kind of just establish the scene. This is 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 1. In the spring of the year, the time the kings would go out to battle, David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained at Jerusalem. So in the previous chapters, the Israelites have attacked the Ammonites. In the previous year, they drove them back, but they to the fortified city of Rabbah, but they were not able to take the city. So they're kind of picking back up where they left off. Anything you want to say here before we get into the heart of the story?
No, just I'll have something to say on verse 2. Interesting.
All right. So I'll go ahead and read the next paragraph, which is verses 2 through 5, and then we'll discuss those. It happened late one afternoon when David arose from his couch and was walking on the roof of the king's house, that he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. And David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite? So David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her. Now she had been purifying herself from her uncleanliness. Then she returned to her house, and the woman conceived, and she sent and told David, I am pregnant. So I'll give it to you for first thoughts.
Oh, I just wanted to point out, like I was never clear on when I was reading verse 2 over the years, like how's he walking around on his house and sees her on the roof of her house? That's kind of like, is his house way taller and hers is right beside him or something, and her house is right beside his or something that was just, I was not processing it well. Anyway, then when I was in Israel the first time, they've located David's palace. I mean, it's all down and stuff like that, but they have the foundation they've located the foundation of King David's house, and it's on the edge of a valley. And they said that the houses back then at that time were lower in the valley. And so they're pointing that out. So David's palace up at the top of the valley, other houses were built along the sides of the valley. And so you would see down on the top of everyone's house if you're standing on top of the palace. So interesting how that all works out and makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. David's house, it might be a little bit taller, but I mean, we don't have like skyscrapers, right, in ancient times here. But primarily you can see what's going on because he's on high ground. And Bathsheba would have no expectation that people could see her. You know, she'd be within the confines of her own house, her own courtyard, and would not have the expectations that people could see her bathing. Obviously, they didn't have showers and running water, and so this would be normal behavior to bathe outside in your own courtyard, but you wouldn't expect people to be able to watch that. The narrative here is quite interesting. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to point out, they're still talking about hijab. Victoria says he could have sociopathic traits. No, narcissist. They have some commonalities and so on, but that dude is way, way, way too emotionally fragile and sensitive to be in the psychopath category. Just wanted to clear that up. I'm defending the good name of psychopaths, dang it. Don't do that to psychopaths and lump hijab in.
Mm-hmm. Comment that the city of David was not a big place at all. It certainly is much smaller than modern day Jerusalem. You can debate exactly how big it was, but definitely smaller than modern Jerusalem. So yeah, there's no expectation of being able to see, and the narrative doesn't assign any guilt to Bathsheba. It also doesn't assign any resistance because the story isn't about her and her actions. It's about David's, and this is in contrast to the rest of 1 Samuel, where the story of David is being 1 Samuel and the first part of 2 Samuel, where the story of David is described, where the narrator takes great effort to, anytime David does something that someone might accidentally perceive as sinful or wrong, point out what David's mindset is, what he's thinking. And here it's just told in a very matter-of-fact way. We come to verse 3, where we see Eliam, who is Uriah's father, and he is described in the narrative elsewhere, obviously, as being a great warrior. And Uriah himself is described as one of David's 30 mighty men. So
he is one of
very important.
He was one of
soldier.
the baddest of them all.
Yep. Comes from a family of soldiers, and he's a great soldier himself. So an important person. And additionally, his grandfather was an advisor for David. So there's some connection here, right? This isn't just some random individual, and that David's told who he is, and then he proceeds anyway. So he now already is committing the sin of adultery of the heart, according to the Christian understanding. If we jump over to Matthew real quick here, Jesus speaking, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Your thoughts?
No, That's all.
Nope, nothing.
That's all correct. And
straightforward.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the story goes on, and they, Uriah is not just one of his soldiers, not just one of his best soldiers, but also seems like a really good and faithful guy throughout the rest of the story, which makes it all that much worse. It's not like David is killing some total scumbag or something.
So then we come to verse 4, and people will speculate one way or another, but the lack of protest by Bathsheba does not indicate anything one way or another, because again, the narrative is about David. And from a modern perspective, we can see that she didn't really have any ability to resist his advances. Again, we don't know her mindset, but this would be considered like a power position where you abuse your power to take advantage of someone sexually, which sounds a bit like what Mohammed Hijab did. What do you think?
My goodness, can you imagine if Mohammed Hijab became like king or something like this? Which he clearly has fantasies about ruling the caliphate and stuff like this, because he used to post these messages. Imagine if someone could unite the ummah. We would be so strong if people would just unite under some person. And it's like, you're clearly talking about yourself, dude. Like you're gonna be the one. But my goodness, can you imagine if this guy got more power? Like if he had the actual power, he'd be banging everyone's wives and daughters. Freak.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be showing much restraint by any means. So now David takes the adultery of the heart and commits actual adultery, which the penalty for which in the Old Testament, in the Mosaic law, which David is obviously under, if a man is found lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die, the man who lay with the woman and the woman. And so you shall purge this evil from Israel. So the text describes it as evil. And there are indications elsewhere in the law that obviously this doesn't apply if a woman is taken by force, i.e. raped, and she resists, then she's not guilty. Only the man is guilty. But the law itself is written imagining that it's consensual. And so David has made himself subject to the death penalty. Then we come to the latter half of verse 4, where it describes Bathsheba as in the period of purification. Now, this would be from menstruation. So she menstruated 7 days ago, if we assume, as generally is, that this was the last day of her purification. She was finishing it up. The purpose of this in the text isn't necessarily to indicate that, because it would be considered wrong to sleep with a woman who was in the purification process. It's not to put greater guilt on David, but rather to establish the fact that she is not already pregnant, that she cannot have a child by Uriah, her husband, because she is not pregnant. Which is, of course, important because she becomes pregnant here. It also just happens to be, although it's probably not the point of the narrative, that it is the time that a woman is most likely to become pregnant. About 7 to 10 days after last menstruation is the height of the period where a woman can become pregnant. And this was known in ancient times. It's described in the Talmud that this is the best time to get a woman pregnant. So not necessarily increasing his guilt, but David is definitely not thinking about his actions. And then, of course, she does.
He's just thinking about this little hotel hookup.
Uh-huh. Yep. He's thinking about how can I take advantage of this situation? I mean, he's not a Muslim, but if he was, he'd be doing a muta contract here and then sending her on her way. And so he takes advantage of her and then has her return home like nothing ever happened. But unfortunately for him, she becomes pregnant, and now he's got an issue on his hand. He thought his sin would be secret. He thought, wearing his mask to the hotel would cover him. but now there's a chance it's going to be found out and become public knowledge. So what is he going to do? We know what Hijab would do.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's get all your Dawah buddies, get like 75 of them, and start saying this woman's a liar. She's a liar. She impregnated herself to frame me because of Elon Musk.
Yep, sounds about right there. All right, so the next section here, David gets some ideas in his head about how to deal with this. So David sent word to Joab, who is the commander of the army, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked how Joab was doing and how the people were doing and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, go down to your house and wash your feet. And Uriah went out of the king's house, and there followed him a present from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and did not go down to the house. So I'll stop it right there for a minute. Your thoughts on these verses?
I'm actually thinking ahead to. I was actually thinking about Joab. Joab's just following all the orders, and it gets more and more extreme what he's being told to do. But yeah, I was thinking about that in the sense of like that's like it's like Ali Dawah, right? Like what's gonna lie for me? Lie for me, do this, do that. You guys know it's evil and you just do it anyway. You're just following orders.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a very strange request coming from David, because remember, Uriah is one of the top warriors, and they have people whose job is to send messages back and forth between the army and the royal palace and whatnot. And he summons one of his greatest soldiers to come, and then he gets there and he's like, hey, how's the war going? Which just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? And I think Uriah is kind of like, oh, it's going good. Why am I here exactly? What's going on? But then David says, well, while you're here, why don't you go down to your house and wash your feet? So this is a Hebrew idiom, meaning like hostility, but often and it's used that way in the Bible, but often it also takes on an additional context of sexual intercourse. So what he's saying is, go down to your house, be friendly with your wife, and hopefully have sex with her. So that is what David wants to happen here. But Uriah, and he even sends a present, right? Which is probably food and wine. So go have a party with your wife and live it up for a couple days before you go back to the army. So he thinks he has a brilliant plan, but Uriah says, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay here and wait till I'm allowed to go back to the army. And this refusal shows his devotion to God, but also shows his camaraderie with the other soldiers. Obviously, they don't have the opportunity to go visit their wives. He doesn't want to take advantage of the situation and get special privileges that his friends don't have. And it's also a matter of practice that the soldiers of Israel, that they are not allowed to engage in sexual activity while they are on duty. There's an incident here in 1 Samuel where David and his men have come to a temple, and they want to eat the bread, and the priest is like, well, you have to be ritually pure and whatnot. And so David says to the priest, truly women have been kept from us as always. When I go on expedition, the vessels of the young men are holy, even when it is an ordinary journey. How much more today will the vessels be holy? And this brings to mind a contrast between the way Muhammad and his soldiers behaved. What do you think, David? Were Muhammad and his soldiers exhibiting great self-control as they are conquering foreign people?
No, they'd moan and wail and say, oh, we're so far away. We either have to castrate ourselves or hire a bunch of prostitutes until we capture a bunch of women that we can rape. And I'm not exaggerating, guys. It's exactly what the sources say. And so Muhammad allowed them to hire a bunch of prostitutes until they could capture women. I'm sorry, I keep looking over here. A mosquito, my kid had the door open because he was playing outside, and a mosquito just took a big chomp out of my arm, and I'm waiting for him to land. I see him flying around. I'm waiting for him to land. And then I will jump up to brutally murder him. But anyway, yeah. So Muhammad and his followers not known for having much self-control. But I mean, think about this guy. Think about this guy. I am not going to go have sex with my smoking hot wife while all my friends are out there fighting. It's just a huge cut, because that was like, that's what David used to be like, right? Just supremely loyal, completely faithful, and so on. And this guy's still like that. And meanwhile, King David has gotten to the point where he can take this dude's wife because he can.
Mm-hmm. And just to make the point clear here from the so no, actually I didn't pull that one. Oh wait, yes, sorry. Is it over here? Okay, no, I didn't pull that one. But there is a statement in the Levitical law that after sexual intercourse, you remain ritually impure for 24 hours till the next evening. And so he would not be allowed to return to battle for minimum of 1 day if he went and visited his wife. So he's saying, this is not what I'm going to do. But Frog 1, Dog 2 here says, why don't you go visit your wife, Uriah? Which is exactly what King David does. So he finds out that Uriah did not go and visit his wife. And then he says, the servants tell him, and he says, Uriah did not go down to the servants say Uriah did not go down to the house. And then David says, have you not come from a journey? Why don't you go down to your house? Which is kind of an implicit attack on his masculinity. Oh, what's wrong with you? Why don't you want to visit your wife? But Uriah
you're not a real man.
Exactly. A real man would go sleep with his wife. What's wrong with you? So Uriah says to David, the ark in Israel and Judah dwell in booths, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are camping in the open field. Shall I then go to my house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do such a thing. So David has to come up with a new plan, and he says to Uriah, remain here today also and tomorrow, and I will send you back. So Uriah remains in Jerusalem according to the order of David, and David invites him to come party with him and eat and drink and be merry. And the text says, so that made him drunk. And in the evening he went out to lie on his couch with his servants of the Lord, but he did not go down to his house. So David's like, I know what I'll do. I'll get him really drunk, and it'll impair his judgment, and then he'll go and want to have sex with his wife, and my problems will be solved. But even under the ply of alcohol, he refuses to do that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so yeah, I see why you had that passage ready about Lot. Now,
yes,
I see that.
Yeah, we're going there next.
I see the comparison, but this is a guy you could get him fall down drunk, and he will still do what he thinks is right, even when drunk. But I mean, seriously, like, the messed up thing is, like, suppose David had been completely successful in the cover-up. In other words, suppose he were, he gets. Suppose he got Uriah drunk, and Uriah went home and had sex with Bathsheba and so on. And then it would be, oh, yes, you impregnated your wife. Huh? Yeah. And the plan was, I guess, that Bathsheba was going to keep her mouth shut for the rest of her life. And she'd be raising, Uriah would be raising King David's son. And it would just be totally a total secret forever.
Mm-hmm.
If he were successful in the cover-up.
Yep, because the child would be born about 9 months later, maybe about 8, but who's counting? Not super precise, because obviously it took a little while for Bathsheba to figure out she was pregnant, but close enough that no one will suspect anything. All will be good, and Uriah will be happy. This will be his first child. He'll have an heir. Everyone will love it. No problem whatsoever, except he refuses because he is too honorable, which then brings us to the extreme irony in the text here. The Israelites are at war with the Ammonites. That's the city that they're besieging, a process that takes a long period of time. And
What else do we know about the Ammonites?
Yeah, what do we know about the Ammonites? Where did they come from? They came from, as someone said in the chat there, a prophet Lut. Yes, prophet Lut. So this is the end of the story of Lot, a favorite of Muslims. Now Lot went out to Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to live in Zoar. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there's not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father.
Hang on. I just wanted to point it out, right? So Lot takes his daughters and hides, and they see everything being destroyed. It seems like, especially what they say here, there is not a man on earth. It seems like they think the world has been annihilated and they're all that's left.
Yep.
And so it's on us. So this isn't even like, I mean, it's still weird and creepy, but it's like they're trying to do the right thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
right, yeah.
we have to repopulate the world. And this is the last, sadly, our dad is the last guy left on the planet to repopulate the world.
Mm-hmm. So they ply him with alcohol because they know he was not going to agree to this plan otherwise. So they get him all drunk, and then they do end up having sex with them. The firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she arose. So like he is stupefied, right? He is extremely drunk. He has no idea what's going on, basically. The next day, the firstborn said to the younger, behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down and when she arose. Thus both daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day, one of the arch enemies of Israel. The younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day, one of the other mortal enemies of Israel. So their actions are shown to be quite sinful in the narrative because it leads to the creation of Israel's enemies. They defied the plan of God. They didn't trust in God, and they said, let's God's destroyed the whole world. Let's figure out how we can continue things on our own. And this is the proof that the Bible contains great immorality, according to your average Muslim commentator. And notice that David is now plying Uriah with alcohol to try to get him into the same kind of relationship that led to the war that they're currently having, that he pulled him away from.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out we've already kind of pointed it all out, but I want to make sure Muslims understand, because this is so common. I can think of at least 4 major problems when they come, the Bible cannot be from God, it's immoral, it's been corrupted. Look what it says about Prophet Lot, right? So, a couple things here. One, your Quran affirms the Torah, and Genesis is definitely in there. So Genesis, part of the Torah that the Quran affirms the inspiration, preservation, and authority of. So anytime you complain about anything in the Torah, you're actually smacking your fake prophet in the face. So there's that. Then there's the fact that in the Bible, Lot's not a prophet. He's Abraham's nephew, not a prophet. So this isn't even about a prophet. You could still complain and say, but it's making a person in the Bible, it's saying he did something bad. Okay, yeah, but the Bible doesn't cover that stuff up. The Bible exposes this stuff, as happened with King David. But the Bible reports when people do messed up things. Third, Lot wasn't intentionally doing this. They had to get him drunk to do something like that. And then fourth, yeah, as Thaddeus is already pointing out, follow the narrative. What you have in the Bible is God telling people how to do things, and then they go in their own, they decide they can come up with a better way and go in their own direction, and it always leads to disaster. That's what happens. And right here. So you have, prior to this, you have the split between Abraham and Lot because they have too much stuff and the land can't sustain both of them. So they have to go in different directions. Lot picks the lovely area of Sodom to settle with his family. Bad idea. He took the easy road of where he's going to go, and let's go down and settle here, and this affects his family and so on. And then you see it's basically one long sustained example of the consequences of always choosing the easy path, always choosing trying to come up with your own way of doing things. And the result is always terrible, terrible, terrible consequences. And Muslims miss all of it because they go, oh my goodness, what are you saying? Prophet Lot banged the girl. Oh my goodness. And hence they always miss and don't understand the story. And then they don't take any advice. And then they end up following people who do the same messed up stuff over and over and over again. And they try to cover up the By the way, Thaddeus, isn't that interesting? What has Hijab been saying all along? You have to conceal this stuff. You lie about this stuff. You lie to your wife. You cover up. Everyone cover up, cover up, cover up. These are the same guys who are saying, this can't be true because the Bible just says that this stuff happened. Right. It's like opposite ways of thinking. It's opposite ways of thinking. If there's some horrible sin that needs to be brought to the surface and dealt with. Now, keep in mind, you can't, if you've done some horrible sin, and there are definitely times you deal with it yourself, and it doesn't need to be announced to the entire world and stuff like that. There are other times when God wants you to be exposed, as he was with King David, wants it remembered for all time so that people take warning. And here we get to Islam, and the same people who are obsessed with cover it up, cover it up, cover it up. Oh, there's all these differences in the Quran. Let's just burn all the Qurans, cover it up, cover it up, cover everything up, cover up every sin. You conceal it. And then, wait a minute, the Bible is telling you what Lot did here? Oh my goodness, this can't be the word of God. It's telling you what actually happened and not covering everything up.
Indeed. So Snoopy said, did the daughters tell their dad? This is the end of the narrative. We don't get any further description. Then we find out later that the Moabites and the Ammonites are the enemies of Israel. But I mean, they would have had to at some point, right?
They got pregnant and they're in a cave.
I'd be like, hey, there's no bed around here. How did you get pregnant? Well, Dad. You remember when you were super drunk?
Dad, we got a fake AI confession from you that this was all part of your plan.
Yep. That's probably about how it went down. We found a confession. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, let's get back to the story. Actually, let me take a couple super chats and then we'll get back to the story of David since we're at a good stopping point. Another one from Z Raider.
They give a loan to Allah. What is the reward? The reward in this life is that the money will come back double. You give 100, 200 will come back. Sooner or later. Believe me. All money that is given for the sake of Allah, it comes back. And I'm sure that all of you have experience.
Yeah, I have lots of experience with all my donations to Allah being doubled sooner or later. I mean, very wise investing. You send it $5 to your favorite Muslim preacher and you get $10 back from Allah.
Isn't that awesome? It's like way better than investing in some stock or something like this. You're just like, hey, let me give this Dawah guy $1 million. I'm guaranteed by these guys that I'll get a 2 million back.
Exactly. Believe me, sooner or later it will happen.
And guess what, guys? Then you take that 2 million, give it right in. Boom, 4 million back. Boom. And you just give that to the Dawah. Boom. Then you get 8 million. Guys, it doesn't take many of those cycles to be the richest man in the world. Maybe has anyone theorized that maybe that's how Elon made all his billions and billions of dollars?
Oh, maybe that's why he's now plotting against Mohammed Hijab.
Hijab is going to expose the secret of his hundreds of billions of dollars. Elon was like, I really want to start my car company. I don't have enough money. Hey, I know. There's a Dawah guy. Let me just give this $10 to him. Oh, I got $20 in the mail right afterwards. Ooh, I'll just keep doing this. Meanwhile, boom.
Yep, exactly. The infinite money glitch. So Zero just said, thanks for answering the question and thank you for the donation. And then we had 10 gifted memberships from Jack Ray.
And Allah will bless you in a million ways. You find the tree will grow and you will have lots and lots of wealth. This is the example that we gave to the children. And I'm letting you know that when you sow that seed by giving, you shall receive much more than you gave by the will of Allah. Give as much as you can, for indeed you will reap much more than you have sown.
And that's how Gufti Menk got phenomenally wealthy, because he is phenomenally wealthy. He knows this from personal experience. He donated it to other ministries, and then he got double the donations made to his own ministry or something like that.
I don't know why he's asking people for money, man. He should just give everything away and then get way more.
Yeah, exactly. And they start them young. They're giving this example to the children at the mosque Sunday school. So the kids know that if their parents give them $1 for allowance or whatever, they can give it, and then they can get $2 back from the mosque, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Jack Ray there. All right. Let's get back to the text then. So David's second plan also doesn't work. So now he has to, now he has a real dilemma on his hands, because the penalty for adultery is death. So he can confess and potentially face a death penalty, or he can put someone else to death. So that's what he decides to do. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. So he carries his own death sentence. In the letter he wrote, set Uriah in the forefront of the hardest fighting and then draw back from him, that he may be struck down and die. And as Joab was besieging the city, he assigned Uriah to the place where he knew there were valiant men. And the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the servants of David among the people fell. Uriah the Hittite also died. So plan successful. Put him in probably near the remember, it's a besieged city. All they have to do is sit there, right? The idea of siege warfare is you starve people until they give up. So all they have to do is sit outside the city. But the order comes down. He says, let's go attack, presumably the entrance to the city. And lo and behold, this leads to the death of several men, including Uriah, as a result.
And check out Joab Dawah there. Joab Ali Dawah, helping,
just doing what his master tells him to do. He knows it doesn't make any sense.
He has he knows he's murdering Uriah here. This is one of his buddies, one of his faithful companions, really all around. Seems like based on the little we know of him, all around good guy, totally faithful soldier. And Joab, without question, murders him because David tells him to help him cover up. He apparently isn't even aware. He's just, okay, he's telling me to do it. He's telling me to murder this guy, so I'll do it.
Yep. Seems like a dumb plan. I'm the military general, but whatever. I'll go along with it. And then we get the little letter that Joab sends back to David, which gives a clear indication that he knows exactly what's going on here. Then Joab sent and told David all the news about the fighting, and he instructed the messenger, when you have finished telling all the news about the fighting to the king, then if the king's anger rises, and if he says to you, why did you go near the city to fight? Did you not know that they would shoot from the wall? Who killed it? So then this is the response. This is still, David saying, who killed Abimelech, the son of Jerusalem? Did not a woman cast an upper millstone on him from the wall so that he died at the bed? So in other words, we've been through this before. The soldiers got too close to the wall and they were killed. So why did you go near the wall? Then you shall say, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. Your thoughts on this little letter? The text puts a lot of emphasis on this letter here.
No, I mean, it's awesome. Hey, he's going to be mad about this. He's going to be mad about this. But if he's mad about this, just tell him the good news.
So this is kind of like Ali Dawah being like, I must apologize to Hijab. I must apologize to him. I was so unfair. I listened to his accuser. I shouldn't have done that. Like in his video, he apologized like 4 times to Hijab for doing exactly what he said in the end, right? But he apologizes for even considering it in the first place.
But I mean, think about that, you know, because here we are months after all this stuff has been exposed. Hijab tried to cover up, got Ali Dawah, enlisted him in the whole process. We know what goes on behind the scenes. Ali Dawah, should we be concerned about making her end her own life? No, you shouldn't. It would be good. We shouldn't even care. It would be good for us if she dies. So Ali Dawah knows what's going. What's he saying in public? Oh, I'm so sorry because Mohammed Hijab, he's such a great man. I should have never entertained anyone criticizing him. He knows he's an evil, lying scumbag. Covers it up. Good guy.
So then this reference here in the, I guess I called it a letter, but technically he said it's oral, right? He's telling a messenger to say these things. But the little story about Abimelech kind of gives away that Joab knows exactly what's going on. This comes from, I forgot to close the that one, but this comes from the 9th chapter of Judges. I'm not going to read the text because it's not super relevant, but the idea here is that Abimelech is a corrupt individual, and in his arrogance, he walks really close to the wall of the city that they're sieging, and just a woman picks up a millstone, right, that you'd grind your grain on, throws it on him, ends up killing him as a result. And so the corrupt Israeli is done in by a woman. He's saying, I think I know what you've been up to, David. I think this might be about a certain woman. Isn't it? Wink, wink, nod, nod. So we get the indication that Joab kind of knows what's going on here.
That line right there, a woman killed him. Wow. Imagine being big, strong guy and just getting taken out by a woman.
Yep. Because of your arrogance and your foolishness and God's judgment.
Imagine that. Imagine that. The humiliation.
So now the messenger does go and tell David. Messenger went and came and told David all that Joab had sent to tell him. The messenger said to David, the men gained an advantage over us and came out against us in the field, but we drove them back to the entrance of the gate. So they foolishly, so it would not be all that odd for people to come out of the gate and try to break the siege, but then they foolishly chased them up to the gate of the city. The archer shot your servants from the wall. Some of the king's servants are dead. Your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. So what's David going to do? Is he going to go into a burst of anger about this stupid plan or something? No, he says, thus shall you say to Joab, do not let this matter displease you, for the sword devours now one and now another. Strengthen your attack against the city and overthrow it and encourage him. So he's basically saying, war's random. People die. Don't worry about it. We're going to be victorious. In other words, well done. Well done.
Good job. Good job, you guys. Most of you don't know what's going on, but you just helped me cover up my crime. Now no one will ever know, and I'll go down in history as a man who is completely faithful.
Mm-hmm. So now we get Bathsheba back in the story, but the text doesn't use her name. This is intentional. She is not being seen as a person from David's perspective. She's just being seen as an object. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she lamented over her husband. And when the mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord, or displeased Yahweh. Uh-oh. He's now he got away with it from men, right? No one will ever find out. except he follows the true God, and he's not going to get away with it so easy after all. He thought that I have this great plan. I'll deceive all the people. And he, unlike Hijab, he actually was a good planner, actually was successful, but God has other ideas.
Yeah, can you imagine Hijab reading the story up to this point? He'd be like, oh, David is very smart. What a great job he's doing. He's being the perfect king. He's using his power to bang anyone he wants and destroying everyone around him to cover up what he's done. This is the ideal, perfect Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
You see, hey, you see, this is why we say even King David was a Muslim. He was the perfect Muslim.
He had many wives, right? And here he's taking yet another wife. Exactly what the Muslims would desire. I guess this is his fourth wife, right? He's completing his Islamic allowance of 4 wives. Now, the reader might think, well, aren't people going to be suspicious? You know, why is David taking this woman as
such a great guy?
Wife?
Such a great guy.
And actually, that's exactly what he's doing. He's setting up a situation where he's viewed as a great, honorable guy, because what he's doing is he's acting as a surrogate, kinsman redeemer, or go out. So this is the idea in the culture, in the context of the biblical narrative, that if a man dies without having fathered a child, a close relative marries the woman who was childless and bears a child by her, which then leads to that child be considering his, and his family line continues on. So what David is doing, and this may be related to him being the Hittite, right? He doesn't have relatives nearby. So he's acting as the relative and saying, as the king, I will be the representative here, and I will do the right thing and give Uriah the son that he deserves. That's what people are thinking. Perhaps.
Or just, hey, I'm so great. I'm going to, since Uriah died fighting for me, I'm going to marry his wife and raise his son as mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's how wonderful and amazing a guy I am.
Absolutely. And this phrase here at the end, the thing that David had done displeased the Lord, draws a verbal parallel to the story of Onan here. Now, Onan, you may or may not remember, but he's in a similar situation. His brother is married to Tamar, and he ends up dying. So then it's his responsibility to father a child. And he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go have sex with her, and then I'm going to pull out so she doesn't get pregnant. And the text says specifically that he does this because he knows the offspring won't be his, right? He knew the offspring would not be his. So what happens? This is what he did that was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he was put to death also. So he's put to death for failing to do this sort of relationship. We know David should be under a death penalty. What's going to happen here? Let's see. What's going on.
Just by the way, this covering things up. Hijab has talked about it for years. You can even lie to cover things up. Lie, cover it up, conceal the sin, conceal everything, conceal it all, conceal it. Doesn't matter, whatever you're doing, conceal it. And then they read the Bible, and it doesn't conceal people's sins. It tells you about them. And then they think, oh, this can't be right because you're supposed to conceal all this stuff. But when you see Muhammad doing things, taking other people's wives and so on, or daughters, or whoever it be, they always have to come up with some explanation for why Muhammad was just being a selfless guy. just like David wanted the reputation of here. I mean, he committed adultery and murder, and he wants to be remembered he wants all this covered up. So he's remembered as the good guy who took the wife of his faithful soldier and took care of her after he was unfortunately killed in battle. i.e. murdered. But just look, every single marriage Muhammad had where it was all screwed up, like with Aisha, it's, oh, he wanted to cement his friendship with Abu Bakr. Show me that. Show me that anywhere in the sources. They make up something to where it's not just him lusting after a little girl, right? They have to make something up. With Sophia, I mean, he has her husband tortured and killed after, I mean, and subjugates her people, the people of Khaybar and so on, and then takes her, and then it was after her great beauty was reported to him, and it was told him this woman is so incredibly hot, and then he's, I have to have her for myself, and then he goes and has sex with her. And what do they say? Oh, it's because she was such an important person that Muhammad only wanted the best for her and wanted to build a bridge with her community and marry into someone that way that their communities are united. And it's like every single time, and even with Zainab. So Muhammad has a son named Zayd, and Zayd is married to, an adopted son named Zayd, and Zayd marries a super hot cousin of Muhammad. Muhammad eventually sees her almost naked, has to have her. And what do Muslims say? Oh, it's because, Muhammad knew that she deserved something more than this guy, and he blessed her by raising her status up to a mother of the faithful and so on. It's like, how come every time this guy is just lusting after someone and he can't control himself, what do? They cover up what an actual scumbag he is and paint a picture of this selfless guy who's just having sex with all the hottest babes for their good. Mm-hmm. Something very sick and evil about all this. But the point is, guys, if you want to understand the behavior of people like Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawah and all this, there's kind of a reason for it. It goes back a long way.
Indeed. A couple people reminded me, make sure to like this video so that it gets spread far and wide in the algorithm. Or if you're a Muslim and you don't like this video, you can just assume the K is silent and hit the lie button. All right, we're just lying here. So hit it either way. So Sal says, did Muhammad have one wife that actually consented? That's a good question. I can't think of one off the top of my head that wanted to be his wife, but Khadijah. I'm not certain either.
Khadijah.
Oh, well, yeah, Khadijah. Yes, that's true. Mm-hmm. And he was faithful to her, right? To his credit, he was faithful to her. And then he became a prophet, and then he just continually got worse.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Well, we don't know for sure he was, of course, but
yeah, we don't know what that dude was doing, but she was kind of the boss there. She was the rich widow. He was the and she was kind of a mother figure to him. You could tell when something goes wrong, he'd run to her. Like when he thinks he's demon possessed and there's a demon chasing him around, what does he do? He runs to her. Cover me, cover me. Like, mommy, protect me, mommy. It's like, Thaddeus, if you thought a monster was chasing you, do you run to your wife?
No, I don't.
No, I would run in the opposite direction from my wife because I don't want the monster anywhere near my wife. But not Muhammad. There's a demon chasing me. There's a demon trying to get me. Let me run to my wife. She'll protect me. There's something really messed up about that dude. Let me just point that out.
Mm-hmm. JL wants me to know that I'm sick and evil for teaming up with a violent felon. Then why are you teaming up with Muhammad? I just want to know why he's teaming up with Muhammad. Let me take someone said, here comes Nathan, and indeed here comes Nathan. But first, 2 super chats from Jack Ray.
Hotel Hijab wants no tell.
Mm-hmm. Not a hotel, but a no-tell. Thank you, Jack Ray, for that. And from Sandman. All right. It didn't trigger, but that's fine. This is the proof that Israelis are bad.
You see what the Jews do.
I can't answer this question in a 20-minute interview, nor is it wise to do so, which is why I never brought this topic up myself. You will not find one lecture of mine about this issue. It should never be brought up in public. And I don't like these idiots, and they are idiots, wallahi. This is not something you discuss amongst the masses, ya akhi. It's not wise. I encourage anybody who is really interested to go deep to take the class. I do this class. It'll be 1 year later.
So it was a little slow triggering for some reason, but we got Yasser Farhadi there on Holes 1.0, and we're now, of course, in the midst of Holes 2.0.
Yeah, think about what he's saying. Think about what he's saying there. This should never be brought up in public. What do you do? You cover up the truth. You lie about it. You deceive people. Under no circumstances do you let people know the truth. You cover up the truth. Notice the parallel there. Hey, here's the truth about our book. Let's cover it up. Don't ever let this come. Don't ever let this out. Oopsie. Yasser Qadhi did about as good a job of concealing the truth as Hijab did with his scandal here. But again, this goes back to that first generation of Muslims. Uthman, hey, what do we do about all these differences? We're ready to start fighting over all our different Qurans. Burn them all and pretend there's only one. Cover it up. Cover it up.
Sandman, thank you very much for that donation. And Yasser Qadhi, thanks for telling us what Islam is all about. And whether it's sins or what Islam teaches, you just cover it up. You just, the irony here is in that, a lot of people are focused on his comments on the hadith, but what he's actually advocating for in that call in general is this kind of no truth Islam, postmodernist Islam, where every belief is equally valid as long as you say you worship Allah and follow Muhammad, that there should stop being fighting between Muslims that have trivial differences like how they understand Tawheed. Right? He actually uses that example. He says people have different ideas about Tawheed, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that our kids are not asking if, they're not talking about the attributes of Muhammad or debating finer points like how to wash their feet. They're asking, is Muhammad a true prophet given all the moral problems found in the hadith literature? And I mean, that's a valid question. I get it, right? The Muslim children should be asking that question for sure. All right, let's get back to the Bible here. And so we do indeed have Nathan coming on the scene. And the Lord sent Nathan to David. He came to him and said to him, just going to tell this little story here. There were two men in a certain city, the rich one and the poor. The rich man had many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing but one little ewe lamb, which he had bought. And he brought it up, and it grew with him and with his children. It used to eat of his morsel and drink from his cup and lie in his arms, and it was like a daughter to him. Now there came a traveler to the rich man, and he was unwilling to take one of his own flock or herd to prepare for the guest who had come to him. But he took the poor man's lamb, and he prepared it for the man who had come to him. So this is the story that Nathan comes and tells King David.
Brilliant.
Telling this little parable as a way to speak against David without directly doing so.
Well, there's a reason. That's how you get people to actually, they'll condemn themselves. If he had just walked up to him and said, hey, you did this, he would have immediately gone into defensive mode. Instead, you say it's about someone else, and then he'll condemn it, not realizing it's about himself. But we actually saw this with all the Dawah guys when people are asking him, hey, what do you think about guys just using Muslim women for sex and just duping them into getting married and stuff like this when they just want them, and lying and covering things up? And what do you think? Oh, of course we would expose that. You should expose that. Of course you should expose him. And then, okay, it's Mohammed Hijab. Oh, no. Too late. That's how we were able to expose them on all the hypocrisy. Because if you don't know, if they don't know it's one of them, they condemn it. Then they find out it's one of them, and then they change their minds real quick. Like,
indeed, That's actually a great parallel there, right? Because Ali Dawah was like, we gotta go public with this. I've been advocating for years to go public with this. I've done many videos saying going public. Oh, it's hijab. Cover it up. It never happened.
Lie about it. Lie about it.
Mm-hmm. So there are some interesting parallels in this little parable. The rich guy here is a shepherd, just like David was before he became king. And the Hebrew word for daughter is Bath. So verbal parallel with Bathsheba, which is daughter of the oath, is what her name would literally mean. So tells this little story. What is David's reaction going to be? Well, let's see. Then David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and he said to Nathan, "As the Lord lives, the man who has done this thing deserves to die, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold because he did this thing and because he has no pity." So David says, this is evil, right? That's his knee-jerk reaction. This is evil. What do you think? What do you think, David?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, think about it. This is just a guy had his own flock, but he goes and take the poor man's lamb, and this is all this guy has. So you're just talking about taking a lamb. And David's saying this guy deserves to die. He deserves death when he has his own stuff and he takes someone else's stuff. But he shall restore the lamb fourfold because he did this thing and because he had no pity. So, but he deserves death. That's just, he thinks someone stole something, like someone just took something by force. So if that deserves death, what do you think about, I don't know, committing adultery and then having one of your buddies murdered?
Yeah, his knee-jerk reaction is, this is so horrible, it deserves death. Bellrunner says, Muhammad ate lamb. Coincidence? Well, yeah, it is a coincidence. But David K said, isn't this similar to Aisha talking to Ali Dawah? Yeah, Nathan is kind of like Aisha in our little analogy here. So
Nathan's kind of because Nathan finds everything out and then, exposes him and so on to his face. And so Nathan's kind of like a combination of Aisha and Salman here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as the talking to Ali Dawah, that would be Aisha. But as far as like his overall role, it's definitely more like Salman's role, where he's the one bringing this to the public, confronting David / Mohammed Hijab, right? That he's making the confrontation, and we'll see what David's reaction is, or what we just saw what his reaction is. But I want to point out that his knee-jerk reaction is that he should die, and then he remembers what the law says, referencing Exodus 22:1 here. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and kills it or sells it, he shall repay 5 oxen for an ox or 4 sheep for a sheep. So the sheep shall be restored fourfold. So David remembers the Torah law when it comes to this story.
Pretty familiar with the Torah, eh? knows a little bit about the punishments. I guess he's thinking, hey, I'm the king. I should know about the legal punishments for various crimes. So So in other words, he's not ignorant. If someone didn't know any rules and so on, you might say, okay, well, you don't know the rules. Let's inform you now, and then you'll know better next time. But he seems to have a pretty detailed knowledge here.
Indeed, he seems to know what he's talking about, and while ignoring the law's implications for his own situation. In fact, he now has 2 death penalties hanging over him, one for the adultery, but a second one for the murder of Uriah. So Nathan doesn't hesitate now, and he says, "You are the man. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you out of the hands of Saul. And I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into the arms and gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if this were too little, I would add to you much more." So first, reminding David that he has been greatly blessed through no merit of his own, right? The unmerited grace of God has been poured out on King David. It starts with a very formal, prophetic, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel," tying this into the covenant, making it clear that what David has done is of grave consequence.
Hey, can you imagine the Dawah guys reading this passage, as dumb as they are? So they'd read this whole story about David covering everything up and so on. They'd be like, "Oh, that's a smart guy. You see? Oh, he's real based. Yeah." And then they would read, "Nathan said to David, you are the man." Oh, see, Nathan even says, "You're the man. See, you're the man for what you did. See, it disagrees with us." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they read it.
Yep. They'd be like, "Oh, Nathan's the bad guy here, right?" He's exposing it. He's bringing it public. He's confronting him. How dare he do this? So then Nathan continues, "Why have you despised the word of the Lord to do what is evil in his sight? You have struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and taken his wife to be your wife, and you have killed him with the sword of the Ammonites." So bluntly, right? You have despised the word of God. You've despised what God has done, despite everything he did for you. And don't you dare try to claim that the Ammonites killed him. You are responsible for what happened here.
Well, it's also the like brilliant the way he puts it. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. You used them to commit murder. You used them as your weapon to murder this guy.
Absolutely.
And then of course right you have right after that, "Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you've despised me and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife." It's what we were talking about earlier. People turn away from God or come up with their own way, and bad consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we have the blessings, the implications, or the seriousness of what David has done, and now the consequences, as David just read there in verse 10 and continuing in verse 11. "Thus says the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against you out of your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of the sun. For you did it secretly, but I will do the thing before all Israel and before the sun." So because David took the wives of Uriah, or took the wife singular of Uriah, in the near future, David's wives plural will be captured, and they will be taken in a sexual manner by his enemy, which is actually his son, because it ends up leading to the rebellion of his son, who tries to seize the kingship, and he captures the palace, and it takes the royal harem, in other words, takes the wives of David as his possession. And it will be public knowledge. You try to keep it secret, God will do much more and make it public matter. So these are the consequences. So what is David's reaction going to be? In other words, what should Hijab's reaction be? David said to Nathan, "I have sinned against the Lord." And Nathan said to David, "The Lord also has put away your sin. You shall not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have utterly scorned the Lord, the child who is born to you shall die." Then Nathan went to his house. So he departed, right? So he gives him the consequences, asks David what his reaction is. And then David says, "I have sinned against the Lord." He doesn't try to make excuses. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't say, "This is fake. What are you talking about? I've been framed." He just says, "I have done wrong." And not just done wrong, but done wrong against God himself. And in response to the unconditional, raw confession of David, Nathan says, "Because of this, God also has granted you forgiveness. The death penalty has been removed from you, but there will be consequences, starting but not ending with the death of the child that was born through the sin of adultery. Your thoughts?
Same thing, consequences. And your consequences, it's think about hijab there. Your sins don't just affect you, they affect everyone around you.
So now we're going to jump over to, well, I apparently closed the wrong window earlier, but no worries, I can pull it up. We're going to jump over to Psalm 51 here. The superscription to the choir master, a psalm of David, when Nathan the prophet went to him after he'd gone into Bathsheba. So this is David's response, right? We saw his blunt response there, that I have committed this sin, right? I am guilty before God. But he writes this psalm in response to that as well. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love, according to your abundant mercy. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. I'll go ahead and just read the whole thing, I think. For I know my transgressions and my sin is ever before me. Against you and you only have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight, so that you may be justified in your words and blameless in your judgment. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, you delight in truth in the inward being, and you teach me wisdom in the secret heart. Purge me with hyssop, that I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones that you have broken rejoice. Hide your face from my sins and blot out my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with a willing spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will return to you. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God of my salvation, and my tongue will sing aloud of your righteousness. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. For you will not delight in sacrifice, or I would give it, and you will not be pleased with a burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Do good in Zion, and your good pleasure build up the walls of Jerusalem. And then you will delight in the right sacrifices and burnt offerings and whole burnt offerings. Then bulls will be offered on your altar. I think the key line here, right, is 17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise.
So
could not be more opposite than Mohammed Hijab.
So not making a fake AI confession,
no,
or to discredit your victim? Not that?
Nope. Not denying it, not making fakes, not saying it's her fault, saying it's my fault. The only person who can save me is you, God. I have wronged you. I've broken. I need your help. Now, the Muslim might go to this story, theoretically, in the back. See, the problem here is that there's no consequences for David. God just forgives him. This is just cheap grace. See, in Islam, we have to earn our way out of our wrongdoings. What do you think about that, David?
Well, I mean, think about it. So the what you find in the Bible is you sin and you repent, and you'll be forgiven. This doesn't always take away consequences. So there's still consequences of your sin, even though you can basically set things right with God. There can be ongoing terrible consequences in the world for things that you've done, even if you're forgiven. But I mean, can you even imagine Hijab repenting of anything? No, it's just, I need to come up with better ways of covering things up. And I don't know how that's going to happen. The dude just is legitimately not smart enough to cover things up well. I mean, he's just too stupid. He does like the dumb, if I wear a mask to the hotel, no one will ever find out about this. I mean, he's trying to cover things up so that like his first wife doesn't find out about this. And in his efforts, he was planning this so far in advance so that nothing could possibly ever come. He's making sure there's no paper trail. He's making sure the only witnesses of the marriage, the only people who are even aware of it, are all on his side and willing to lie for him. Wears a mask, comes up with a plan to say she's crazy if she ever says, hey, I was married to this guy. She's crazy. She's a stalker. I've never married her. Right. Makes a website before it ever came out, to, a new YouTube channel where he's going to post and pretend to be a third party who's just looking into this and finding all the problems. He concocts this idiotic story about Elon Musk planning to frame him for a scandal, like all this insane. And what happens? The entire world finds out. This is not dealing with the top brass when it comes to covering up sins here. But think about this. It's like, hijab, you seriously think that your way of doing things is better than the biblical? How should you have handled this? It came out, guys, I was wrong. I did something wrong. I lied to you. Even at any point he could have come out and he keeps building up the sins. He keeps piling on more and more sins. But at any point in all of this, he could just say, here are all the things I've done. And I turn away from all those things. I'm not going to do them again. But that's the thing. He doesn't want to turn away from them. He wants to keep doing them. He just wants to not get caught. But what's he going to do? He's not sharp enough to cover up. He's obviously not smart enough to cover up the things he does. Rough stuff. Tough time being evil and narcissistic, but too dumb to cover up what you do well. Gotta suck.
Yeah, as Nissan Alex says, the first real scandal is the real scandal is always the cover up. And Hijab had multiple opportunities to settle this. First of all, he could have just not been a jerk in the first place, right? Yep. He could have just he could have not groomed her. He could have not been an evil scumbag. He could have honored his promise to his first wife that he's not going to go around having sex with all these women. So he could have actually been a good husband who keeps his word. We knew that wasn't the case because he's been defending lying all this time, right? So you're right. He could have not done this, but if he did do it, he could have made it right afterward. And he had multiple chances, right? He could have. Yep. Hey, here's how. What did she want? Again, an apology, and she wanted to warn women without even identifying or exposing him. She wanted to warn women, this is something that is happening, and you need to guard yourselves against it so you don't fall into it like I do. He wouldn't even do that. Wouldn't even let that happen. Exactly. And then he had yet another opportunity when behind veils, Salman was investigating. They also wanted to resolve it behind closed doors, right? They wanted to come to a resolution. And instead of taking accountability and saying, yes, this happened, what can I do to make up for it? How can I make things right? He says, oh, I never knew her. And then they're like, listen, buddy, we know you knew her. Oh, yeah. She was a stalker. That's what it was. And they're like, look, you can either come clean or we're going to have to go public. And he's like, fine, expose me. Everyone's going to believe me anyway. You might as well expose me. So they did expose him. And I guess we got Hijab being exposed here on the screen as well in a different way. Shame on you exposing Mohammed Hijab like that. So David at the end of the psalm, right, he talks about sacrifices. He talks about the works that provide a symbol of righteousness under the law, but he says that these things can only happen after the true sacrifice, which is repentance, which is acknowledging what you've done and crying out to God for help. And that's what the psalm is all about. That's what the gospel message is all about, that we're all sinners and we all need God. No one can say, I've done enough good to deserve heaven, despite what Muslims may want to believe about themselves. It is impossible, right? The standard is 100% perfection all the time. You don't get any special credit for doing what you're supposed to do. And then you break that standard and then you need to be restored.
You mentioned it earlier when we were talking about Nathan, that Nathan would be the bad guy, according to them.
Yep.
Just think, everyone who was trying to, everyone who was agreeing that something had happened, or who wasn't going along with hijab's ridiculous story and so on, they instantly became the enemy. If you weren't willing to lie for hijab, you instantly became the enemy. So that's Aisha, that's Sheikh Tarana, that's Salman. These are all people who are just trying to tell the truth and deal with a bad situation in a way that helps prevent the same thing from happening over and over again in the future. That makes them the supreme enemy of the Dawah guys. And that should tell you all you need to know about the Dawah guys.
Absolutely. Una saying the same thing. If only Prophet Muhammad visited David instead of Nathan, then he would have known the proper way to handle the scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. He should have had Nathan put to death for exposing him, and just continued on until he got rid of everyone who was trying to expose him. Then he would have been a proper good Muslim, like the scripture, like the Islamic texts claim that he is. Except that's not even really true, right? As disgusting and immoral as Islam is, there is definitely a culture of cover up. That part is definitely true, but the going to the efforts of blackmailing people or committing Islamic crimes against them, when other Islamic crimes against them wouldn't be justified even in Islam. But hijab doesn't care. He doesn't even care as long as he can find one scholar somewhere in the world that agrees with him, he thinks he's good, and he can interpret that in a way that's favorable to him. He thinks he's good to go. He can just pick and choose whatever he wants. And then to make it worse, he goes and teaches it, right? He goes and teaches it like, hey guys, did you know we can lie to our wives? Hey guys, did you know that we're almost obligated to take secret wives if our evil first wives won't allow us to have a second wife? This is the best thing we can do. And then you get Ali Dawah saying the same thing. Those evil, horrible first wives, they're just so selfish. They don't want to help the single women. They just want them to starve to death and die. That's why we have to take secret second wives. Weird religion.
Very, very creepy stuff. Can you imagine if King David were a bit more like Mohammed Hijab? He'd be giving a talk in front of a bunch of people and like, hey, let me tell you how to bang your followers' wives after seeing them naked in their bath. Let me show you. And then what you could do is, if anyone exposes you, or if you think anyone's going to find out, you could just kill them. Be shouting it from the rooftops.
Absolutely. All right. Before we look at the continuing consequences, right? Because the Muslims say, oh, this is empty theology. You can just do whatever you want repeatedly, and there's no consequence. So before we look, in summary, we're not going to read the whole rest of 2 Samuel because most of the rest of it is the fallout. But before we go over those, let me take a couple of super chats from Songs of Relief.
Every single person that donates, inshallah, you're going to get a reward. You know what? Forget donate. Invest. You invest in your hereafter. Forgive me for pranking you guys, but I had to. Yeah, I'm the king of clickbait. Goodbye.
He is definitely the king of good clickbait when he is telling you that you'll get a reward for donating. Now, technically, he's referring to the actual subject of the video, and he's wrapping up there. But he does say it immediately after asking for donations. Songs of Relief says, great Bible study, guys, like a treasure hidden in a field. Thank you very much for that. And from Misha SWB.
This is full blow. Mutar appropriation. David is on his mutar knees. Mud all over Uriah's heap. Call the doctor. Doctor, please. By Ezra Almighty. Esmeralda tablets for scene.
Lots of references there.
Esmeralda tablets.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that donation there. And if you don't understand, then, just check out the numerous times that David Wood here has exposed the sayings of Mohammed Hijab, and you'll understand this super chat. Thank you for that. All right. So coming back to the text here, as you can see, the title of the next section, David's child dies. So David spent 7 days basically begging God to spare the child that has just been born by Bathsheba. The child does not get named. Probably the child doesn't get named in reality either, not just in the text, but doesn't get named because the child dies on the 7th day. The covenant, the mark of the covenant, circumcision, occurred on the 8th day, and people would often name their children on the 8th day. So because of the sin, that the child is not made part of the covenantal promises of Israel. This doesn't mean that the child goes to hell or something like that. I believe that infants who die in infancy go to heaven. There's nothing in the text to indicate otherwise. The point isn't the child. The point is that David is contrite. He's wants to get back in God's good favor. He wants to make amends. He's fasting. He's refusing everything, and it doesn't take away the consequences of his sins. But after the child dies, David, he hasn't eaten in 7 days, but he goes to the temple, purifies himself there before he does anything else. Before I get into the rest of the consequences, any thoughts on this?
Just the opposite.
All right. So then we're alerted here in the text that Solomon is later born, right? So Bathsheba bears a second child who becomes Solomon. And that's all I want to say at this point. The city.
Oh, the only thing I would add is you got Solomon. He's blessed abundantly too. Decides what? Hey, you know what? I can just do things my own way. And what do Muslims do? Look at what it says about Solomon. How dare it say this? Why wouldn't it just cover all this stuff up and lie about it like we do?
Indeed. So what we're seeing here is restoration, right? We're seeing the birth of a second child by Bathsheba, and now we see the capture of Rabbah, the city that they had been sieging. They take control of it. But that's not the end of the story. There are extensive consequences. So we have one dead child. Now we're about to have a second dead child. Amnon, one of the children of David, sees his half-sister, thinks that she's very beautiful, ends up raping her. Her full brother gets quite upset about this and ends up killing Amnon as a result. So that is the second dead child of David. Then Absalom, the one who murders Amnon, he ends up leading a rebellion. After some time, he gathers an army and leads a rebellion against David's house, against the kingdom. And he ends up taking control, at least temporarily takes control of the city, takes David's wives, as was said in the prophecy there, and claims them for himself. But Absalom is ultimately killed in the rebellion, the third dead son of David. And then at the start of First Kings, which in the Hebrew, first and second Samson, as well, Samuel, first and second Samuel, as well as first and second Kings are one continuous work. So the start of First Kings is the continuation of the story. Adonijah, a fourth son of David, sees that David is old and he'll die soon. He has not been appointed heir, and he says, this is my opportunity. I will take control of the kingship. And he actually claims it, has a ceremony. People are following him. He is the king while David is still alive, and he ends up being killed as well. After Nathan and Bathsheba come to David, tell him what's going on. David says, nope, Solomon's supposed to be the king. He's the one that's been appointed. They do their own ceremony. Solomon's put on the throne. Notice that Bathsheba has been fully restored, right? By all accounts, legally speaking, David had several sons before this. One of them should have been king, but Solomon is adopted as the king because obviously he can choose who his heir is going to be, because she has been fully redeemed. And ultimately, this is the full redemption of David's sin as well. So they put Solomon on the throne while David is still alive. Adonijah kind of concedes that he's not the king, but he comes up with this little plot where he asks for the woman who was given to David at the end of his life to be his wife. Like, oh, okay, you're playing a political game. You're just trying to take control of the throne, and he's put to death as well. So fourfold repayment for the death of Uriah. 4 sons of David die as a result of his actions. His actions had very grave consequences indeed, even though he was fully forgiven by God.
And did you notice the parallel? He said the guy shall repay it fourfold.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's interesting there. David told Joab to, not to kill Absalom. And Joab, who ordinarily is ready to follow David's orders to the death, he's like, no, I'm going to kill this dude. Why? He's thinking, this guy makes some really bad decisions lately. Like bad decisions. He's getting really bad at making decisions, and he's going to get himself killed. And I have to actually protect this guy from destroying himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's what I wanted to cover with the narrative. Overall, not identical sin, obviously, but grave sin taking place in both places. A person of power abusing a woman, taking advantage of their power, trying to get away with it. In one case, the person shows no remorse, no contrition whatsoever, and has continued to dig himself deeper and deeper. The other, the Christian story, or the Jewish story originally, contrition shown, he's restored to God, and there are still consequences, of course, right? The sin is not without consequences, and that's what I want to see from hijab. I want to see, I mean, I'm not saying it will happen, it won't, but I can still say I want to see it, right? I want to see remorse. I want to see contrition. I want to see him actually take accountability for his actions, actually show remorse. And then there have to be consequences, which would include his loss of a public ministry, for example. What do you think, David?
Well, the dude's a narcissist, so
yeah, I'm not saying it happened.
Oh yeah, he's going to be kicking and screaming every step of the way, but he's going to have to be seriously broken, and I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a ha he'll be broken. I mean, for this guy to have any hope for his soul, he has to be, you as a narcissist, you have to be completely broken and exposed. So everyone just think about that. But before David could actually repent, he was exposed. David was not a narcissist. A narcissist by nature gets what he wants by manipulating people into giving him what he wants, right? So guys, you have different approaches in life. You can say, here's what I want out of life. I'm going to work hard for it, and I'm going to these are the steps I'm going to take to make sure I get what I want out of life. And then you have people who take it by physical force, right? You could if you want something, you could go take it, or you can become a leader who can just take things and so on. Like David there, he got to a point where he could just take what he wanted physically. Then you have the characteristic feature of a manipulator is that a manipulator, at the end of the day, thinks that the best way to get what he wants out of life is to dupe you into giving it to him and not realizing that you're being duped, right? Not realizing that you're basically a puppet. You're doing everything he wants and so on. So that's basically all hijab knows by nature. Trick and deceive people into doing what I want. That is really hard to break out of if that's been your entire life. But you ultimately have to be completely crushed to the point where you realize there's no manipulating your way out of it. And that your tactics aren't going to work anymore. That's the hard step, because you could be exposed and you'll still think it's in your brain. Well, I'm good enough and smart enough to work my way out of this, right? That's why Tate can't be honest, right? That's why Tate can't be honest. He's a manipulator and he's a narcissist. His dad was a clinically diagnosed narcissist. It got him kicked out of whatever agency he was in. And so you've got Andrew Tate. He's also a narcissist. He's been exposed repeatedly, but in the mind of a narcissist, it's, but I've still got these people who believe me. As long as I've got these people who believe me and are willing to do what I say, it's not over yet. It's not over. I can still fight my way out of this. And their egos are so great. They think they can do it. They think I can get out of all of this. And so you basically have to be crushed to the point where you finally realize you cannot manipulate your way out of what you've done. And that is hijab's only hope for becoming anything other than a lying, deceptive, narcissistic scumbag. So guys, if you want, and this is interesting because lots of other people wouldn't even be thinking about hijab in this situation. Like, oh, is there, hey, what is there a path forward for hijab and so on? It's no, he's a lost cause, a total evil scumbag. Let's focus on making sure he can't do any more damage in the world or damage any more people or abuse any more people and so on. But yeah, I'm the one here who's speaking from experience. You can come back from something like that. You can live better in the future, but that happens after you get completely crushed and you realize this is not the way. I need something radically different.
Absolutely. JD says Bible discussion with David and Thais is awesome. Learning a lot. Thank you very much for that. I got a few super chats and other comments that we'll run through before we end here. First, this one also from David. David wasn't a narcissist. The channel has nothing to do with David. Yeah, okay, David. I thought that was pretty funny.
That is funny.
Did have this question here from Brainstorm, off topic, but I thought it was an interesting question. Why has the video of you interviewing Imam Tahiti showed up on the Christian Prince channel? Jealousy, competition, or what was the motivation? I think you'd have to ask Christian Prince, but I wanted to see what David had to say about this.
Yeah, no idea, and I couldn't conceivably care less. He can take anything I've ever said and complain about it. There's some people who just get to that stage in life where they have to try and take down everyone else around them because that makes you higher on the chain by comparison. I'm not interested.
All right, got a super chat here. Oh wait, sorry, I had this one first. Did he just call hijab an idiot? So I forgot the context of this. I meant to bring it up at the time, but the answer was yes.
Did who call hijab an idiot?
I think it was Ali Dawah, or maybe it was hijab himself. I forget what. Oh no, or maybe it was. Yeah, I forget.
I mean, I called him an idiot. But I'm assuming it's someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny. That's why I saved it, but then I forgot to pull it up, and now it makes no sense. So that's my bad. All right, here's the actual super chat or technically gifted memberships.
If you frequently say it, Allah would pay off your debts. So you can refer to it back again, inshallah.
So Nissan Addict with the 10 gifted, thank you very much for that. And I definitely recommend that you frequently say 10 gifted memberships, and Allah will definitely pay off all your debts. Wink, wink. So Christian is Little Christ said, I've seen Muslims with 5 to 6 wives. What's the point? I think it's like just kind of the carnal desire, basically. Like, whoa, I'm a big man because I can have sex with lots of women. I think that is basically the only thing they're thinking. What do you think?
I mean, if you're wondering what's the point, maybe you don't know this, but there are lots of guys who would just like to have sex with lots of women. And Islam says, here's how you can do that. And it just makes it halal, right? That's what, at the end of the day, that's what Islam does, right? And that's the main reason Muhammad was successful. When he's just the persecuted prophet in Mecca telling people, just believe in one God, just believe in one God. He won some followers, not a whole lot. It's when he changed his message to, hey, join me, fight for me, and we'll go take everyone's stuff, and we'll take everyone's wives and daughters, and we'll take everyone's houses and so on. And we'll just keep doing that. And it turned into one big gang. That's when it really became popular. That's when Islam really became popular and really took off. But what Islam is, it takes all the basest desires of human beings, right? So you want to have lots of sex, you want to take people's, you want to do all this stuff, and it just says, here's how you can do it. Here's how you can do it and have Allah's approval. You're not doing anything you don't want to. You're not doing the stuff you want to do. You're doing it. It's just you have to do it in the Islamic way. So you want to have sex with lots of women? Islam gives you a way to do that. You want to go around taking people's stuff? Islam gives you a way to do that and makes you right with God. So ordinarily, you would think, here's all the stuff I want to do, but God doesn't want me to do a bunch of this stuff, and therefore I need some serious self-control. I need to do the right thing. Islam just says, what's all the stuff you want to do? Hey, join this religion, and you get Allah's stamp of approval on that. You get God's stamp of approval on all the horrible, messed up stuff you want to
do. So David K did clarify, and yes, this is why it was funny, because Yasser Kai speaking to Mohammed Hijab, who's bringing this up in public, saying only a fool would bring this up in public. So he is absolutely. And Hijab just won't let it go. Like Qadi keeps begging him.
He was flat out begging him, and he kept doing it. This is not wise. This is a bad idea. What was that? I mean, Yasser Qadi is not a tactical genius. I mean, that dude is really stupid tactically. I'm not saying intellectually. That dude is smart intellectually. Horrible tactician, like complete idiot. You just look at the recent thing. He'll blurt something out because he's trying. Oh, here's how I can bridge the gap between the academic world and the ummah and stuff, and I can do this, and it just ends in disaster every single time, just like his little epic city plan did. But so tactical moron, but he's sitting there telling Hijab, dude, are you stupid? Are you stupid to keep pushing this? Stop pushing this. Please, please, please. I'll do anything. I'll give you anything. Just stop pushing this issue. You're gonna destroy a lot of people's confidence. And Hijab just couldn't stop because he's a narcissist.
According to Muslims, Yasser Qadi is an ultra-crepidarian. So let's get that classic clip.
Ultra-crepidarian is a person who not only speaks outside of his area of expertise, he speaks way out of his league, but he also feels the need to announce to the world that he is an utter idiot.
The irony here is that's not what ultra-crepidarian means. It just means someone who speaks outside of their area of expertise. So by giving this longer definition and saying that they need to announce to the world their ignorance, he's announcing his ignorance of the meaning of the word. Little ironic for sure. All right. Got another super chat from John Wilson.
To Thaddeus and David, you obviously haven't had the pleasure of a golden shower. Otherwise, you'd be on my side.
Yeah, I'm Thanks for the donation, I guess.
I got another message.
That.
I got another message about hijab. This happened multiple times back when he was sending us the golden shower messages and so on. What about you guys need to have golden showers? Everything's golden showers, and saying GIMP and stuff like that. But got another message like, I don't know, 2 days ago or something like that, where someone was saying, I had to look up stuff because it was in the interview with Aisha. But they were like, I had to look up some of what he was saying. And
right.
yeah, guys, do not look this stuff up. Do not look this stuff up unless you have like super safe search on or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know everything that he was talking about either.
Yeah. Like when he said GIMP, I was thinking like the GIMP from Pulp Fiction. What the heck? Anyway. Yeah. Weird stuff.
Yeah. But apparently, he's an expert on all these things.
The man knows his stuff.
Good Emperor said, I respectfully disagree. Let hijab continue in his ministry for Islam. He helps us undermine Islam as a religion and ideology by representing it.
What do you mean respectfully? What do you mean respectfully disagree?
Well, when I said I hope that, he confesses and.
Oh, yeah, good Emperor. No, it doesn't. You could take the worst ISIS jihadi on the planet. I would like him to repent. With that said, if he's not going, I hope you acknowledge that it would be better to repent than to continue in your way. With that said, if he's not going to repent, he's going to continue wrecking Islam. That's what a narcissist does. If you want a picture of the narcissist, imagine a sun at the center of a solar system and everything is going around the sun. The narcissist wants to be the center of the entire universe and everything is going around him. And so that's what hijab wants. And that is someone who will, you're the center of the universe. You don't care about how much you're screwing up everyone around you and so on. So don't know what you're talking about. If you're saying, hey, if Mohammed Hijab could repent and be a good person, but I would rather him make Islam look bad, there we would disagree. I would much rather have Mohammed Hijab repent and stop abusing people.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
if he's not going to stop, then yes, we want him to continue exposing his religion.
Yeah, it's a weird situation all around, right? Because from like a strategic perspective, we'd want one thing, but
that dude's a gold mine. Yes,
perspective,
from a
completely different.
Yeah, from the perspective of wanting to wreck Islam, hijab is an absolute gold mine. Absolute gold mine, 100%. And that goes for any of the narcissists. If you want to destroy an entire position, if you want to destroy an ideology out there, it doesn't matter. It could have 100 followers. It could have 2 billion followers. All you have to do is replace all their most prominent figures with narcissists. And that's easy to do because narcissists want the attention. They want to be number one. And so they're kind of built for having that. All you have to do is nudge all these guys in the right direction, get them to take over and destroy the non-narcissists, and then all the narcissists will destroy it from within. That's how you bring down a huge ideology. So hijab is an important part of that. With that said, he is still a human being created in the image of God. So you would want, if he could repent, then you would want that. But the dude's a narcissist, so he's going to have to be broken. He's going to have to be just completely broken in order to turn around. So in the absence of that happening, guess what? He's going to continue on his current path.
Absolutely. And, same thing for other aspects of this. Like I very much want Aisha to leave Islam and become a Christian, even though that undermines her case to a degree. And Salman, it would completely destroy the case if he were to leave Islam. And yet I still want what's best for him. I still want him to come to know the truth of the gospel message and come to Christ. It's not always about winning. Sometimes it's about what is right. And thus, even though I think there's approximately 0% chance, what I want for hijab is I want him to repent and stop acting this way and face the consequences of losing his public ministry, among other things. So, yeah. And no worries, good Emperor. It's a very unchristian of me, but no worries, right? That's it was a good opportunity to talk about that. From Fairy Tale Life, David, you should react to the Muslim on God Logic stream that was basically saying the opposite of what other Muslims say about Christian beliefs. I'm sure that David has no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about, but you know what you're talking about. So why don't you react to it? Right? It is this being a missionary or spreading the gospel, being an evangelist is what we're all called to do as Christians. Like, I'm not saying everyone's called to a public ministry of YouTube videos, but we're all called to spread the truth. And so lots of opportunity for more people to be talking about this. David can't do anything, but I'll hand it over to him. Can't do everything is what I meant to say, but I'll hand it over to him.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, and I'm about to be traveling a bunch, so pretty slim chance that I will ever know what this is about. But I mean, it's on God Logic channel. I'm sure he's got it covered.
Yeah, I mean, God Logic can reply to it, right? Respond to it. He'd make more sense to respond to it. Ask him. Any case, just 2 comments to close us out here. FLP says, I look forward to Thaddeus' Bible worship study. Those are always really nice. So if you liked what you saw today, I try to have a weekly Bible study. I don't manage to do it every week, but I try to have it on my other channel, Reasoned Worship. So if you liked what you saw today, we go through pre-assigned readings. I don't like pick them for current events like I did for this, but same kind of analysis of scriptures and whatnot. And then lastly, Snoopy says Mary is smarter than David Wood. And I saved this because Mary will be debating tomorrow. She'll be debating Robert Spencer on DCCI Ministries. I want to plug that. I want to make sure everyone tunes in 3 o'clock Eastern time. Obviously adjust that to whatever time you live in. Are you looking forward to that debate, David?
I probably I'll be getting ready for some trips, so I probably won't see it now. Probably have to react to it after I'm back from everything. But yes, because I'm semi-joking when I debate Robert and Jay on this. There are like points I could bring up, but I know it's just incredibly funny that what they're doing is they're like wreaking havoc on the reliability and trustworthiness of the Muslim sources and Muslim beliefs about how solid their religion is and so on. They're just trashing their sources, and your sources are so bad we can't even know that your prophet existed. That's how screwed up your sources are. And then me, I'm just arguing everything I don't have to argue just based on the principle of embarrassment. That's just hilarious to do to me. That was the moment I heard there were people who were denying the existence of Muhammad, it just instantly was in my head. Wait, we should have a debate, and I'll argue just on the principle of embarrassment that there's absolutely no way anyone would invent this stuff. All this embarrassing stuff. And then I get my entire opening statement and all my rebuttals to make fun of Muhammad. And then the other person is trashing their sources. It's a rare situation where I could not conceivably care less who wins, because either way, Islam loses. No matter who wins a debate, Islam loses. That is still true as far as this debate. Whoever wins, Islam loses. But I think Mary will I say I'm semi-joking. I'm not completely joking, because I do believe what I just said, right? That the main way we know Muhammad existed, even given these terribly late, unreliable sources that were made up in an atmosphere where they're just making stuff up left and right. You say, oh, how can you know what to believe when their sources are so late and unreliable? Well, there are historical principles. There are principles that historians use to try and sift through even unreliable material and get to things that are actually correct. So that is a sound principle. And I believe that there's stuff in the Muslim sources where, come on, this is not the sort of thing anyone would make up. So with that said, I'm semi-joking in the sense of I'm not making the absolute strongest case I think I can make by just, talking like, right. If I were to do it right now, I'd build my case on the story of the men of Al-Zut banging Muhammad. Why would you make this up? Why would you make this up? Right. And so it's to me, it would be funny. And so it would be kind of a joke in that sense. Whereas Mary will be pretty darn serious. And she has a I'm trying to think. Apart from like Sam Shamoon, who has probably the best recall. I'm trying to think. Mary's probably one of the best people on the planet when it comes to having quick recall of massive amounts of information. In other words, I read stuff at this point in my life. I wasn't like this when I was younger, but at this point in my life, I will forget like 99.5% of whatever I read in that book. Sam or Mary, they will remember it all. They'll remember it all. So that will come in. That will come in handy. With all of that said, it is difficult. You don't have a lot of early sources to go on. Well, you don't have early sources to go on. You got a couple sort of weird quotes and stuff that are debatable. So it is difficult proving stuff about the existence of Muhammad or the life of Muhammad or something like that. But if I had to pick someone who could do the job, it'd probably be Mary Hart.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that for sure. There was a question to me. Do you think Muhammad existed? Yeah, absolutely. I think he existed. Now, do I think that the sources completely and totally reliable paint the picture of who he was? No, I wouldn't say that. I think that there's definitely legendary development and
there has to
pledging the record, but I don't think it's plausible that it's a complete invention, a complete legend. So that would be my position there. But we'll see how Mary does. I did a mock debate with her in which I took the part of Robert, and I had to make some arguments of his, which I don't think are good arguments at all, but it was fun. And she got a lot of pointers. She also had her a friend who is a champion debater, helping her, coaching her. So she should be well prepared. It is, however, the first time she's ever debated in a formal situation. So she will be as prepared as possible, but she also doesn't have any experience. So it should be a very interesting thing to see for sure.
Yeah. Mary and Robert are going to have their debate. And then we'll eventually have to have the 2-on-2, David and Mary versus Robert and Jay. And whoever wins, Islam loses. It's just I said it when I debated Robert. We should have that debate like every week. There's just something incredibly hilarious to me about and I actually like completely ignoring their case and just, come on, look at what Muhammad did here. Are you serious? Getting banged by Diha al-Kalbi? Why would they make this up? I love it.
And Stiffy says Robert will be crying after Mary gets done with it. I don't doubt that, but a couple more super chats.
I would say I can't imagine a scenario here where one of them crushes the other. I can't imagine a scenario. They're both too smart, and they're both too smart, and it's a debatable issue. It's a debatable issue as far as it is a serious problem that reality doesn't line up with what's in the Muslim source. In other words, if you were to read the Muslim sources and say, what's the population of Mecca during this time? It's nice city, about 10,000 or something. You look at actual scholarly works, and you come up with, it's a tiny place, maybe 500 people and so on. And a lot of the stories kind of don't make sense if you're dealing with a kind of tiny little place. So there are these things that cast doubt on lots of stuff in the Muslim sources. And so that's it's tough, but Mary will have a ton of stuff.
Absolutely. So 2 more super chats came in. Let me take those before we wrap up. From Jesus Saves.
Can you just imagine giving £100 and it's a sadaqah jariyah, meaning it carries on going even when you are gone? Just imagine being in your grave and getting the rewards. In your grave, you will not be able to come back to this video to donate. So why not donate now?
So Jesus said RWE. I don't know if that's a typo or supposed to be some sort of abbreviation. I don't know what that means.
It's RWE. It's RWE.
Oh, RWE. Oh, RWE. Okay, yeah.
You just literally have to read the letters, Thaddeus.
That's why it's capital, so I read it as an R.
Yeah, gotcha. And Thaddeus is going to 2. Why is there a number 2 there? That doesn't make any sense. Abel with a 2 on it. What is that? Abel squared? I don't even understand. Yeah, are we able?
Yeah, are we able to donate to France 2? help with Candy Wilson. I don't know what that's about.
Oh, yeah.
Face,
No,
I assume it's a joke.
No. Well, yeah, as far as no one needs to donate, but the Prime Minister of France and his wife are suing Candace Owens for her calling Brigitte Macron a man, saying that Brigitte Macron was born as a man and transitioned to a woman as she was like abusing the prime minister when he was young. And she went all in on this, made a whole like documentary series and things like that. Apparently, according to the lawsuit, they had sent her all kinds of like pictures of her when she's a kid, birth records that she gave birth to three children and stuff like that with her prior husband and so on. And Candace is pretending there's just no evidence and so on. So that's the thing, guys. You can say something that's false, but you believe that it's true. Once they find out that they've given you sufficient evidence to prove you wrong and you keep saying it anyway, then I don't know. Well, here's the thing. Because I was thinking, I don't know what the laws are in France, but she's being sued here in the U.S. The lawsuit is here in the U.S. So that's interesting.
RA, so I guess that's reasoned answers. Not understand abbreviations for 29 minutes straight. Yeah, something.
Well,
like
what's
that.
RA? Ra? You mean, was that an Egyptian god? What's Ra not understanding Egyptians? Of course not.
Yep. All right. You guys got me. Last super chat from Brainstorm.
Wasting your time on social media is one of the best deeds a Muslim can do. There's a huge need for it. You know this and I know this. So that makes the reward even greater. So give generously and Allah Azza wa Jal will give you even more.
So we got the close out with hijab there. No comment. So just filled it in with this default. Thank you for your donation and thank you for your donation. Thank you everyone for watching today. I hope you found this material useful and beneficial. And just a reminder, keep the pressure on Mohammed Hijab, Ali Dawah, and the rest of the co-conspirators. Don't let them live this down. Force them, wherever they go, wherever they try to speak, force them to answer questions, or at least publicly refuse to answer the questions. I guess you can't technically force them, but make it a source of embarrassment, because we need change, right? For the human beings in the world, whether they are Muslims or not, and they shouldn't have to put up with Dawah guys being able to abuse them without consequence. So as is tradition on my channel, we'll close out with a prayer from Pastor Jake.
Pray this ceaselessly. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me.